Hi guys, so this video is just going to be on what I personally think is a good gerbil diet. Well, because obviously what you feed your gerbil is important, as it will be the base of their health, and if you feed them the right thing then they can live a very long life. If you feed them the wrong thing they can live a shorter life and your gerbils get ill. So gerbils are omnivores, so they need a mixture of both vegetables, fruit, stuff like wheat, seeds, and also insects and a small amount of meat. They also need to eat between their food altogether, between like 12% and maybe 15% protein, and between 6 and 8% fat. It shouldn't be really below or higher than this. So for base for your gerbils everyday diet, what they should be given every day, is obviously a main commercial seed mix, like what I have here. Just a few bits. Some good seed mixes I recommend in the UK are Gerbil, the Pets at Home muesli, which was also quite good. I use main mix Gerbil, so I think this is the best thing you can get. But at the moment I do also have some other food mixed in with it, which is an old mix, which is a bit of WAG mix, a tiny amount, and a bit of Burgess Gerbil granola, which actually is another one I recommend. That is another good food. So yeah, it's all mixed up in there. But yeah, I definitely recommend Gerbil if you can get it. Another good thing you can mix in with it, it's some sort of pellet. This is especially good if you have picky eaters. This will assure that your gerbils are getting like all the stuff they need in their diet. But I also wouldn't recommend only feeding them a pellet, as the pellets don't tend to contain all the nutrients they need in their diet. But if you're feeding it also against a main seed diet, then I think it is good, just to make sure they are getting everything. The pellets I use are the Johnson Advanced pellets, but there are also some other good ones on the market. You can get some Burgess do some and Science Selective do some, which I believe are both good. So another thing I feed them, so these two I feed them every single day. This is a homemade mix I give them. I think it's good to give them a homemade mix, as you can add stuff into the diet that the commercial mixes don't put in it. Like for instance oats, which I believe are very important to the gerbil's diet, as they are a good cancer prevention. And gerbils are very prone to getting cancer, as some other rodents are, so oats are very good for that. Also in here I've got like dog biscuits, as they need protein. And dog biscuits are good as long as you don't give them very much, or cat biscuits. And some dried fruit, and there's some small seeds which are also good for gerbil's diet. So if you want the recipe for this homemade mix, then I'll put a link to a video I made of my homemade mix at the bottom. But yeah, obviously with a homemade mix you have to make sure so it sticks within the protein and fat amounts, even against the commercial mix. You have to still make sure, so if in the future you want to put oats in it, you have to make sure it don't go too high over that. So I think other good things that are good to add into a gerbil's diet is mealworms. Maybe give them like 1 or 2, 3 times a week, because as I said, they are omnivores, so do need some insects, and these are a good source of protein. But you can't overfeed them protein, because that can also be bad for a gerbil's diet. but just giving them 1 or 2 mealworms 3 times a week is good. Another thing, seeds. Here I've got pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, melon seeds and squash seeds. You don't want to overfeed seeds. Some commercial mixes have a lot of seeds, which is way too much for a gerbil to have, especially sunflower seeds, as they are really fatty. So if you have a mix that does contain a lot of sunflower seeds, you might want to take them out, and you can still give them to your gerbil, but just hand feed them so you can monitor the amount they are having. So I usually give them like 1 or 2 seeds 2 or 3 times a week. Sometimes they might get more, as there are still some in their mix, so they just do still get some in their commercial mix. I give them daily, but they don't get them every day, so I mainly like to just hand feed the seeds. Just also make sure that the gerbils are all getting them, and like if I put them in their food, then one gerbil might steal them all and the other might not get any. So another good thing, which is very good for a gerbil's health, is herbs. This is another good health benefit, and it's also good against cancer and other diseases. So you can buy like just herb mixes from pet shops. Here I just got, it's a mixture of a blackcurrant and apple twig mix that I get from Pets at Home, and this herbage mix that I get from B&M Bargains. They do like this, and I give them just a small handful like this once a week, and this is really benefits for their health. So again, I've also got some dog biscuits in there, which I also give them like a small bit like this once a week, if your gerbils like them, because 2 of my gerbils don't like them, so they just tend to get an extra mealworms instead, which is also good for protein. Another thing, it isn't essential, but I would recommend, especially if you're giving them a homemade mix, is to add some vitamin solution, which you can just put in their water. But I would recommend changing the water every day if you put this in it. But you also don't need to add it in every day, you can just put it in 2 or 3 times a week, just a few drops. And that will just give them an extra boost, because I think it does make a difference to them. Before, when I give them this, they were fine, but I think it made them more lively and stuff, so I would recommend that. So you can also give your gerbils, which is a very good thing, very, very small amounts of fruit and veg. Well, you can give them like a bigger amount once a week, but I would recommend more giving them small amounts, maybe like this size, each of maybe a bit of carrot, or a bit of broccoli, a bit of apple, 3 times a week. I believe this is also essential to a gerbil's diet, as they do need fresh fruit and veg. But if you're first getting them and haven't had them before, you have to just give them tiny amounts, otherwise they will badly affect their health and get diarrhea, so you have to work up to slowly giving them wet food. So basically, also the amount you should give them a gerbil a day can vary between gerbils, to be honest. Like 2 of my gerbils, I generally give my gerbils 1 tablespoon for each pair every day, so I don't fill the spoon up amount, but about that much each day. And when I give them the homemade mix, I give them half a tablespoon of each. Sorry, I meant tablespoon, not teaspoon. So that one, and the homemade mix, so I give them that. 3 times a week I give them that. But it does vary between gerbils. Like my younger 2, I can give them a tablespoon a day, and they can go through it within 1 night, because I feed them in the evenings. And other times that tablespoon would last them the whole day. My other 2, sometimes they can go through the whole lot in 1 day. Other days that 1 tablespoon can last like 1.5 days or even 2 days. So it can vary between your gerbils, so you have to just work out the amount. I would also recommend feeding your gerbils daily, rather than giving them a handful and then just feeding them like every week or every 3 days or whatever, as it is better, because then they can get more of the right nutrients in every day, as they would tend to pick out what they like first. So then they can pick out, like in the first 2 days, they'll just pick out their favourite food, and then for the 3rd day they'll just have all the other bits. But I think it's better to give them all that in one day, so they have their favourite bits, and then their less favourite bits all in one day, so they get all the nutrients in one day, which is what I think. So yeah, I think that's all on what I think is good for a gerbil's diet. Obviously you can give them other treats as well, like I got here, but not too much. So I just give them maybe other treats 3 times, 2 times, something a week. So yeah, don't give them too many treats. Also depends on what the treats are, with how often they can have them, with how much sugar, fat and proteins in them. But yeah, that is what I think is a good gerbil diet, and I would recommend it, although again it depends on your gerbils and what you prefer for your gerbils. But yeah, so I'll leave it there and see you next time. Bye!